All right, what's up, boys? It's July 29th, and this is going to be your best setup of the day video. A few things I'm going to do in this video. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my pre-market plan. I'm going to show you the best setup you could have taken today, and then I'm going to mention a few things to you after those that I think you're going to want to hear that could potentially help you guys a lot. So let's just get right into it. I just filmed this whole video, and after 23 minutes of filming, as soon as I went to edit it, I realized that the audio was cooked. So I had to redo this video. But anyway, starting off with my pre-market plan, this was a little bit different than usual because I really didn't have any levels that I saw on the chart to play off of. So what did I do is I went to my volume profile levels and I just tried to figure something out using that. So my first level of the day, this is the RTH sessions, by the way. Price opened up towards the 30s or 40s up here. So pre-market, we were actually trading up here, just so you guys know. First thing I wanted to see, the first scenario I came up with was, all right, if buyers step in from this 32 down to 28 level, this area right here is where, of course, I'm blocking it. God fucking bless. This area right here is where I was looking to get long first. That was the first thing I identified today. The next spot I wanted to potentially get long at was if this did not hold, I was assuming that we would just probably break this whole low volume area and end up coming down here, which I have as market structure demand that actually formed off of market structure demand, which I'll show you on my Sierra real quick. So this is a level I marked out yesterday. And yesterday, basically, I was kind of viewing this as market structure demand, bounced off of it, formed some new market structure demand, like I said right here. Yeah, long story short is that the only two levels I had was that value area from 32 roughly down to like 25, I believe, and the market structure demand level right here. That's the only thing I could come up with today. I didn't want to be short. We're kind of like consolidating or just chopping around at all-time highs. I really did not feel like getting in front of the context. On top of not having some good, clear locations to trade off of, we have FOMC. We got FOMC tomorrow, which a lot of the times the market just likes to wait for. And we also had some data at 9. It wasn't really nothing crazy at 9, but just something to be aware of. But anyway, so that was my plan today. Really, my plan, to put it simply, is to get long possibly from 32 to 28 first. And then if not there, I wanted to get long in, it was not this box, I actually deleted it, but it was from like 412, 415, maybe even 415. From like 415 down to like 410, I believe. So that was my next spot. All right, you can clearly see the session we sold off. So yeah, that completely just, those two plans went out the window. For a spoiler, I didn't take any trades today, but I'm going to show you guys how you could have potentially looked to capitalize off this short right here. So yeah, let's just hop right into the setup of the day. So it was very choppy today. The most significant volume came in around 848, 849. Some strong selling right here, right? Takes us through my key levels that I had marked out from 32 to 28. And like I said, this was where I was looking for buyers to potentially step in. Gets completely broken into. And it looks like, now that I am having hindsight, it looks like as we tried to leave out of that area of value for one, you can see the buying is super weak. Like this buying, the only significant buying is right here. And this was a whole 1,000 lot sweep. So who knows what that was? That could have been a short exiting. But yeah, super weak buying. And that's just going to lead me to the setup of the day. So first of all, one thing that I used to look for a lot was just the most significant volume on the session. And that's what came in here at 848, 849. This is what I would call the most significant volume on the session. Essentially, what I like to look for is delta that is higher than the opening, higher than the session open. So clearly that is the case here. So the first thing I want to talk about in this video was I actually fought off an impulse today to go long right after this data candle at 9. And this is something that it has been definitely one of my triggers in the past. Definitely one of my triggers in the past for a bad habit. It's basically In this case, right, we have the data candle and price pretty much did nothing. So what I looked at it as, for some reason, I was like, oh, this is bullish. We reclaimed, although we did break through where I wanted to spot buying, we were now trading essentially around it, almost to the top end of it, right? So we're trading like around this 32, and I'm thinking like, oh, maybe I can get long here. Data didn't sell off. This data this data didn't cause a sell off, so maybe this thing's gonna start ripping up, right? Mind you, that is the only reasoning for this idea coming into my head. There's no order flow that's like, buy this right now, buy this. There's no order flow. Um, there's nothing back in this trade at all, other than the fact that I have just like this thought popped into my head to potentially like, oh, it's literally it's awful habit. It's an awful habit. So yeah, around like 903, 904, I was so close to taking this long. I'm not even kidding. I had my finger on the trigger. I moved my mouse over to the buy button, and literally I look at the buy button and I'm like, why am I taking this trade? Like literally just why am I taking this trade? And I look back at the footprint chart, and this is what I see, by the way. This is what the footprint chart looks like at the time. And I'm looking at bookmap and I'm like, the buying is weak. There's not like there's super strong buying coming in here. That's definitely not the case at all. Yes, we had a 1,000 lot order sweep come in before the news candle. Is that super significant? We're trading below it. Um, and I'm just looking, and I'm like, there's nothing telling me to get long. There's really not. And I end up not taking the trade. I'm like, this is probably gonna end up being a trade that I regret taking in hindsight. And of course, this is literally happening at the same time for the best short entry of the day. And that's why it's so funny to me, because if I pull this footprint back up, now the thing is, I didn't have a plan for this trade. So, like, I had no plan to get short. In hindsight, what I can say is the most significant volume on the session is right here. It is during this time period, roughly. It must have been right here actually. So roughly from like 847, 848 to 849, like I showed you guys in bookmap, right? You can see all this huge delta right here. Get some more delta down here. Just basically showing you that sellers are here, sellers are strong. They're sellers at this prices. And in hindsight, it's easy to say, all right, a lot of weak buying came up. Yeah, we had a 1,000 lot order sweep, but look, we got a successful auction, illiquidity on the high of this footprint chart. I wouldn't call this a P shape. This is like a P shape right here, P shape right here, and it's like, oh, maybe, buyers clearly are not taking us above this price, at least holding above this price at all. That's for sure. So it's actually the best short setup of the day. We end up selling off 30 points from this exact place. Now, the one thing is we did consolidate in this candle right here. This is a 5 point range footprint chart. So this is not time based. This is completely disconnected from time, just so you guys know. So this footprint candle right here, this actually was like 30 minutes. You can just see by the time 903 to 907. So like 25 minutes we'll give it. The fuck? So this is when I walked away from the session. I was like, I'm not gonna sit around here and watch this thing trade in a 5 point range for 30 minutes. I just called it a day. I walked away. It was fine with me. But yeah, it ends up selling off 30 points straight up. Like I said, I did not have a good plan to get short. Could I have said that it might have been, you could view it as like a failed break out of the previous value from 32 to 23? Yeah, you probably could have said that, honestly. You probably could have said that. But yeah, this was just a day where I took no trades. I'm not really mad about it. I'm really happy that I was able to fight off that impulse to potentially put a long on the worst spot possible to get long today. But yeah, so it was honestly, it's fine. I'm happy with it. Whatever. Like the last 5 sessions, I have had like 3 break-even trades, which is absolutely insane if you ask me. I mean, it's not surprising given the lack of volatility, the lack of momentum and everything. So I'm not like surprised really. But final thing that I want to tell you guys is that I was watching this podcast regarding the cognitive benefits of creatine the other day, right? And this woman, her name's Rhonda, I forget her last name, she's a scientist or doctor, and she's speaking about this one study that has been done where basically they sleep deprive people for 24 hours. I think it might even be more than that. They sleep deprive them for 24 hours and they give them 25 grams of creatine, and it completely reverses the cognitive effects that sleep deprivation would have. And not only does it do that, it actually improves the performance cognitively from even if you were to have a good night's sleep. And whenever I heard that, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that is actually insane. And then, so that was crazy to me, right? And then she goes on to talk about it a little bit some more. And she's like, yeah, also the cognitive benefits are of creatine is that you are, whenever your brain is under a lot of stress and a lot of cognitive demand, we'll call it, whenever there's a lot of brain power being used, like in an instance such as trading, creatine helps keep your cognitive performance at the best it can be during those times. And it kind of gave me a realization because before this podcast, I knew that there was cognitive benefits. I didn't really know the extent. I didn't really know the details. Whatever, right? Um, I was also listening to some other guy, I forget who, was speaking about how whenever you drink coffee, this amplifies your stress levels and it amplifies your anxiety, and we all can feel that to a certain degree when we drink coffee. And I actually love coffee. I know that there's cognitive benefits with coffee as well, but in a stressful environment like trading can be, kind of had this realization, all right, maybe I want to try switching drinking coffee every morning because that is something I do before the trading session. I'm going to switch that out with creatine, specifically 15 grams, and I'm going to see if I notice any difference in performance. So, yeah, I've been taking 10 grams of creatine for roughly a week now. This week, I'm starting with 15 just to see because that's when I saw the podcast. I know that they're doing 25, but I'm not doing 20. Letting you guys in on that. I just thought it was very interesting and something worth hearing for sure. If you guys are curious on the creatine that I'm using, I'm literally using unflavored creatine monohydrate powder. It is unflavored. I couldn't imagine drinking 15 grams of flavored creatine. That sounds fucking awful. And like not the gummies or anything like that. Straight creatine monohydrate, unflavored. Just throw 3 scoops in the water, and I'm good. But I just wanted to give you guys a little insight on that because I thought that was a very interesting podcast in general. But yes, I'm wondering if that has something to do with my ability to potentially realize that the trade I was taking today might have been, instead of just taking the trade like I might have done if I was caffeinated. I think if I was buzzing off caffeine, I probably would have put that trade on. I'm not even gonna lie. And that's something that's interesting to think about. I'm not gonna blame my performance on caffeine by any means. It's for sure a personal issue taking a trade like that in the first place. But I will say, if I was caffeinated and feeling a little jumpy, there's a chance that I might have put that on. And I would have been, in hindsight, sitting here like, fuck me, why did I take that trade? Whatever. Like I said, I don't even know if that's what's happening, but whatever. That's just a quick little update. And if you guys like these videos, subscribe if you haven't already. Discord is in the description, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.